My name's Sean Wright. I report for We Are Change, and basically, we're a group that tries to go out and get information, and I'd like to give you a DVD as well, too. It's called Red Pill. It talks about government, secrecy, why we need it. I didn't write the names on it, I didn't have much time, but earned a nice little stack and brought it for people.
Sure.
I've heard a lot of different people, a lot of different comments the whole night about, we need to get to the younger people, we need to urge people to come out and vote, especially for the whole Republican way, the conservative way, and everything else. I'm younger, and I am amidst the younger crowds. Everybody, younger crowds, wants one thing: smaller government.
In the younger crowd.
Especially.
That's what they want.
Smaller government. They do not want government dictating anything. Now, with this whole bill for the voter ID, I look at that as expansion of government, making more requirements to be able to go cast our constitutional right to go vote.
No, you already are required to have your name and your address. All this is doing is simply saying...
Well, entering my name into a system of checking, but now...
It's already there.
Correct, but now swiping or scanning of the ID, I mean, I don't care if they have to count the vote 300 times to get it right.
No, it's not about counting, it's about casting.
It's about casting and accountability of making sure that the voters...
That those entitled to get a ballot, get a ballot. Those not entitled, don't.
Correct.
What methodology do we have? Just like we don't sit all night and hand count the paper ballots, do we? We use a precinct optical scan. We use some technology.
Another thing with the voting system. Another thing with the voting system would be nice if we had a receipt.
And I forgot. It does issue a receipt as well.
It's one of the biggest flaws in the whole electronic voting.
I forgot to tell one of the good ones. It has a receipt.
That's one of the main concerns I have about the electronic voting, of course.
No, this is a paper receipt. No, this is not electronic voting. This does not change voting on a paper ballot, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Does not change.
It's still the whole thing about swiping my ID to be able to go in and cast my vote.
No,
I just don't agree with that because now...
Data entry. Let me explain. Right now, you do the same thing. You sign your name by hand. Then somebody afterwards looks at that and barcodes that line. Okay? All we're doing is using technology, just like in the counting of the ballot. We're using some simple technology that also does some verification. Are you dead? Are you felon?
And we're also relying upon the Department of Public Safety.
Well,
to have accurate and correct information.
This is a system, and yes, that's true.
It's an idea. I do like the idea of making sure that the person voting is correct.
Here's what I'd encourage you to do. That 10-minute video that's on the Minnesota majority, my voter ID or something like that. Minnesota majority has a website, and you can watch the 10-minute video, which kind of explains the system. And when you kind of see the system a little bit, it's real hard. Like when I bring in a demonstration of it, you're able to kind of see how it works. Like this young kid with Emperor.
Well, let me back up here a little bit.
Video and he said, "Oh, that's how."
But the one thing that I don't like is I don't like anything that expands government. All the budget talks, everything else. In my opinion, we shouldn't have to pay taxes on our income. That's against the Constitution, in my opinion, and we should have been in the Federal Reserve. But now,
and we have a chance to. The 100-year contract is up 2013 or 14.
That won't happen. We know that. We know how many. I've got a video on here asking Mitt Romney.
Rand Paul is around.
On my hat, I got a Ron Paul sticker. I'm a huge Ron Paul fan, so I'm all for it. Met both them guys many times.
He's going to push to get out of the Federal Reserve.
Now, with the one thing too is like Aaron Russo was big on the whole Real ID Act and trying to oppose national ID cards with radio frequency ID chips and everything else. Now, when Minnesota adopts the national ID cards, where we all have to have RF chips and everything else here, when you introduce a bill to show and scan an ID to be able to show proof of you're not a felon, that you're eligible to vote, that you're alive, all the things that we used to take for granted just by our signature and by people trusting people. Now everything is getting so deceived between the whole party fighting that nobody trusts anybody anymore.
Oh, the deception is not about the party fighting. The deception right now is the fact that on that paper roster right now, where there's no ID requirements, I show up and say, here's my name. That's an awful lot of trust.
You still also have to provide a documentation with a bill in your name, or you still have to. I've had to. They never just let me go in on my own.
If you're pre-registered, you don't.
Well, if you're pre-registered, then you've already gone through the channels to be pre-registered.
We don't know that name on the roster is truly connected to you. How do you know that name on that paper roster done?
Well, that takes the integrity out of the voter out. Now, where I was going with this, though, is when we get like a national ID or we get a government, a federal issued identification through the states, that the states will adopt adopt because they'll force the states to adopt it through federal aid, or they'll threaten cutting budgets with the states will get back to the federal government. Now, once we accept that, and we're taking RFID chips in our IDs, and we're having to input and scan with our thumbprints and our eye scanners and our corona scanners and everything. So where is this going to stop? When is it going to be like, well, these IDs can be falsified. Now we need to scan your eye, or now we need a thumbprint. I mean, how far do we need to go to ensure the voters are going to be who they are?
Yeah, there's a law of diminishing return. I think right now we have a big return, big value. Like I mentioned, the federal requirement of data entry. How do you do that if you don't have this kind of mechanical way at point of contact? Remember, it's the same data. It's a matter of collecting it or doing data entry.
You put the frog in water and you turn up the heat a little bit, he's not going to jump out.
Just like when you get your fishing license, when you get, there's a variety of things that some of these things do. All I'm saying is that you're expecting.
You don't need a fishing license to go fishing. You need a fishing license to go fishing legally.
Voters, and that they are all absolutely trustworthy. 3.2 million voters are all absolutely trustworthy. I should take that leap. I can't do that. I don't think that's borne out.
Yeah. Well, my look at it too is, when I'm a father, I have children growing up. Now, when it comes down to them wanting to vote, now say if the higher ups in the parties say, let's put a federal bill through where only the educated can vote, because everybody from left, right, up, down, every news network, everybody pretty much agrees on the same thing, that we've got this stupid outvoting. But that's our constitutional right, to come out and cast our vote, whether we're educated or anything else. Now,
it's a qualified right, not an absolute right. Okay, voting is the right based upon year of age, that you live in the precinct where you're voting.
Correct.
And that you're not a felon, you're not under guardianship. That's all in the Constitution.
Correct.
So this is just like, it's not an absolute right. Okay?
But I just look at this as a stepping stone for them introducing more regulations, more laws, saying who can vote, whose votes can be exempted because of lots of, there might be software errors. I mean, the programmers are not perfect.
Okay, look at Indiana.
Well, that's one state that's adopted that, one state that
well, there's
started.
A bunch of others already have it. They're one that went to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Well, I look at that too. I live in Minnesota. We can break away from the union if we'd like.
States, so
they try in other states. They also got really pissed off about Arizona for implementing less rules in the federal guidelines for immigration. So I mean, media takes a spin on everything to push the agendas they want. I mean, so what happens in another state isn't necessarily good for the state of Minnesota.
I can't solve all the problems of the world, but I do know one, and that is this one on photo ID. It's highly supported by the people of all political parties, of all ages, of all persuasions.
Everybody I've spoke with that's more aware about expansion of government, the younger crowd, because believe it or not, all the people that are here are going to be retired sooner.
The younger crowd talked to me about saying, I can't believe this. I could bust this system so fast. If I wanted to cast umpteen votes in the kind of voter registration, same-day situation with all the vouching we have right now, I could cast umpteen votes and you would never know it.
Except for when they go to recount the votes, or if they go to check the votes?
No. These are walking into a polling place. There are so many ways that you could bust the system and cast more than one vote.
Don't you think there's a lot more pressing issues to worry about than introducing higher voting? I never got...
Keep changing the arguments all the time.
I'm not trying to debate you. I'm not like a Democrat info hater.
Every time I get close to winning, you go off on another detour.
We're not fighting for anything. We're not winning. There's no winning or losing. I'm just trying to ask...
Stick to one subject at a time when you're...
Well, I was going from the first point of view where I was asking you about expansion of government. I am completely against any expansion of government. Any more rules and regulations, that is not what we're about. We should have minimal government. Government is not supposed to control. Government is supposed to react to what the people want.
Yeah, but the government also has a duty, just like when whenever government implements anything whatsoever, it still has a duty to do it right, to do it fair, to do it well, to do it it efficiently.
Yeah.
You know, once it's there and it is that's what you do.
And I do support you versus the other side that wants to charge an arm and a leg and then have their friends get the bid and then do the job and then just rape our taxes out of it. I do like the plan that you wanted to do it for a lot less money, more efficient.
Yeah.
I do like that. But
I'm not opposed to the private sector doing it, but it's just that I was able to beat them at their own game. But you know what? With MAPE, Minnesota Association of Professional Employees, they had when I went for endorsement in my first re-election, my second time, and I read their platform, what they all wanted for professional employees. I said, wow, I've done that in my office. So I told them what I'd all done. They didn't endorse me anyway.
Yeah.
Because even though I treated the employees well, I trained them, educated them, they had prestige in Minnesota state government because I had given them the ability and the knowledge and the authority to do something really good.
Yeah.
And they thumb their nose at me because they're going to endorse a Democrat. It didn't really matter what I did. I did it because I felt it was the right, responsible thing to do for the taxpayers, okay? So I just did it. But it's kind of like I didn't bother going. Next time they invite me to come and seek their endorsement. Are you kidding? You're not honest.
Yeah.
You're not honest.
And I'll be the first to tell you, I completely disagree with anything Dayton. I completely do. I was there when he signed in the bill for the Obama health care, and as people started trying to ask questions right away, the people were just telling him, you need to turn it up, we can't hear you. And his comments is, well, if you can't hear you, shut up. I mean, that's the way he's talking to the voters, that's the way they talk to people. That's the people that are controlling and expanding more government. Governor Dayton. I got that on here too. So, I mean, these are the people we're putting in power, and it's not about Republican, Democrat, or anything else. It's about who's out here looking out for the people that are in our jobs.
Just so you remember that when it comes to photo ID, okay, it's already on the ballot. All the information is on the ballot. All the data is pretty required by law. All we're doing with the electronic in the rosters, you know, when we're doing this, is capturing it, the same information that's currently on your driver's license that is used all the time.
See,
that is already on the roster, and it's minimal. I mean, this is minimal. That you're old enough, you are who you say you are, you live where you say you did, and, you know, the Supreme Court has said the burden of proving that with an ID is not, it's already required. So proving what is required of you is not an undue burden.
I just don't like the part about the scanning of the barcode into the system to check.
Yeah, but all this is, it's a, no,
I've had to deal with the Department of Public Safety a few times on different issues, and they are the worst efficiency people on the planet. Same with the Department of Revenue, same with all the departments, they're all interconnected.
I made my office efficient. I had a reputation for that.
One person.
Anybody. Well, hey.
Or one office. No, I appreciate that.
Office, I did. Okay. But
high five me on that for being efficient and good, and at least acknowledging that the Department of Revenue and the Department of Public Safety are not efficient.
Well,
we do need to restructure all those.
Common knowledge, and that's what we're going to do. But in regards to the data that's on your driver's license, it is already in the state voter registration system.
Yeah.
All we're doing with the barcoding is matching it up when you're there. Data enter connecting when you're there. It's already there. All we're doing is matching.
Yeah. Well, myself and a lot of people see it the same way. Hey, thank you for your time, though.
Yeah.
Definitely. Check out the DVD, though. You'll be intrigued by some of the information in there.
Okay.
Thank you.